section 1.5, we're going to describe some angle relationships. Okay? The first one we're going to talk about is complementary angles. Those are two angles that add to make 90 degrees. What's so special about a 90-degree angle? It's called a right angle. That's right. So, two angles that add to make a right angle are called complementary. Okay? The next one is supplementary. Two angles that add to make 180 degrees. What's special about 180-degree angle? It's a straight line, right? So in other words, they are a linear pair. If two lines or two angles are supplementary, they are also known as a linear pair. They make a straight line. The last word is adjacent. Adjacent are when angles touch each other. They share a side. So if something touches each other in geometry, we call it adjacent. It's right up against it. Okay? So if something's right up against something else, we call it adjacent. So here's just some examples of some complementary angles. It's telling me that these are complementary to each other. It means they all add to be 90 degrees. If they're adjacent, they will actually form the right angle that you can see, or they don't have to be adjacent. Okay, they can be separate and still add up to be 90 degrees. Okay, so if I put those together, twist them around, put them together, you would see that it was a right angle. Supplementary angles, if they're adjacent, you can see that they're up against each other and they do form one straight line. If they're not adjacent, obviously, if one of them's acute, the other one has to be obtuse for it to be 180 degrees, right? Does that make sense? An obtuse and acute add together to make one. They have to be one of each to be 180 degrees. Also, two right angles are also supplementary, right? Because 90 plus 90 equals 180.
Successful.
Yes?
Taylor Brankin and Trey Durbin need to come to the office at 2:15 to check out.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, here's an example right here. You can read these angle measures. This one is 122 degrees. This one is 32 degrees. And this one is 58 degrees. Okay? So, from this example, you don't have to draw the picture. Just fill it in with me. We're going to name a pair that are complementary and then supplementary and then adjacent. So we're going to look at this figure and find a pair that are complementary. Let's start with complementary. Now what does complementary mean? It's just right there on your paper. They add to be 90 degrees. Now obviously MEF is not adding with anything to be 90 degrees because it by itself is already bigger than 90 degrees. Correct? So are there any two angle measures, because we only got three, that add to be 90? DEM, which is this 32-degree angle, and QKR. Does that add to make 90, 32 plus 58? Okay. No, it's the figure. The whole thing is the figure. All right. So yeah, remember when you're naming angles, you do the little angle symbol. And you need how many points to name an angle? 3, and the vertex goes in the middle. So the first one will be MED or DEM. And it is complementary with QKR. Angle QKR. The vertex is always in the middle. So complementary means it adds to be 90 degrees. So number 2 says name a pair of supplementary angles. What does supplementary mean? Add to make 180 degrees. So can anybody give me a pair that adds to make 180? What two angles add to make 180? Very good, because 122 plus 58 degrees is 180 degrees. So, like he said, angle sign, MEF or FEM, same thing, and angle QKR. Just make sure the vertex is in the middle. The last question says, name a pair of adjacent angles. What does adjacent mean? They share a side and a vertex, right? They're touching each other. M. Grace. Very good. And angle MEF. They're touching each other. They share the side, right? Right? And they both have E for the vertex. Very good. All right, y'all try this one real quick. I want you to tell me the pair of complementary, the pair of supplementary, and the pair of adjacent angles. That says 49 degrees. I don't know why that red thing is there. You don't have to redraw the picture. This one is 41 degrees, this one is 131 degrees, and this one's 49. And I think that's the same picture on page 35 if you need to look in your book to have it more clear for you. It's 131. 41, 131, and 49. Should do it before 3 o'clock. Whenever I get done. Remember, when you're naming an angle, you need how many points? How many letters? 3. Vertex goes in the middle. All right, y'all help me out. Which is a pair of complementary angles? First of all, what do complementary angles do? They add to make 90 degrees. So what's one of the complementary angles? FGK. And which other one? GKL. Raise your hand if y'all agree. Now again, when you write these, you can write them in other order as long as the vertex is in the middle, right? Now good? Good job. Supplementary. What does supplementary to mean? They add to make 180. So which ones do that? GKL. And which one? KGH. That 131. Yep. So raise your hand if you got those two for supplementary. And what does adjacent mean? They touch. They share a side. So which ones do that? The two at the top do, don't they? So what are those names? FGK and angle HGK or KGH. I forgot my K. Huh? You don't do anything. You look at it. If they touch, if they're up against each other like that, you see how they're like connected together? Then that's how you know they're adjacent. Okay, let's talk about finding a complement and a supplement. Now that's pretty easy. A complement is what you add to something to get 90. And a supplement is going to be what you're going to add to something to get 180. Right? Because we know complementary adds to be 90, supplementary adds to be 180. So you don't have to write all of that. It just says you just need to see that word, complement. That means they're going to add to make what? 90. That means complementary. Okay? So if one of them, if they're complements of each other, that means together they add to make 90. And if angle 1 is 68 degrees, how are we going to find the measure of angle 2? Yeah, we're going to say the measure of angle 2 is going to be 90 degrees minus 68 degrees, which is how many degrees? 22 degrees. Easy. So just look for those clue words, complement and supplement. Okay? If it says complement, you say 90 minus. If it says supplement, you say 180 minus. Okay? All right, it says angle 3 is a supplement of angle 4, and the measure of angle 4 is 56 degrees. Find the measure of angle 3. So if they're supplements, it's 180. So the measure of angle 3 is going to be what? 180 degrees minus 56 degrees, which is 124 degrees. Takes longer to write it down than it does to actually do it, right? Is that okay with everybody? Complement, you subtract from 90. Supplement, you subtract from 180. I was going to have y'all try some on your own. Can we skip that? You're good. All right, we're going to skip that you try because I think y'all can do that. Right? 5th block geniuses today. Math is so hard. 90 minus 180 minus. Okay, let's see what's next. Oh, yeah. Next is the little algebra. Algebra. All right, can I scroll? Well, you have to have algebra 1 for a reason before you have geometry. Draw that picture. It says find the measure of angle BCE, which is this obtuse looking angle, and the measure of angle ECD, which is the acute looking angle. But they got X's. Are these two angle measures equal to each other? No. We can't say something's equal because number 1, they totally don't look equal, but number 2, it didn't say a word like bisect or midpoint or anything like that, right? So you can't assume anything is equal unless you see one of those clue words. But what do we know about these two angles? They're adding together to equal 180. Why do we think they're adding together to equal 180? Because it makes a straight line. Together they're making a straight line, aren't they? Right? Y'all see that? Those two angles put together like this are making one straight line. And we know that a straight angle is how many degrees? 180 degrees. So, I might not know what X is yet, but I can say this angle plus this angle equals 180 degrees. Y'all see that? So if two things make a straight line, then you can add them together and set it equal to 180. So I got to solve for x before I can find those measures. So the measure of BCE is 4x plus 18, whatever x is. And then I add that to the measure of ECD, which for right now we just know that is x plus 2. And we know that I add those together and that equals 180 because they're forming a line. It is 8. I couldn't read my own thing. Sorry. I was looking at it diagonally and my plus looked like 18. So I'm sorry. You're right. 4x plus 8 plus x plus 2. Y'all understand that? They're making a line so we can set it equal to 180. So now I got like terms, right? They're on the same side of the equal sign. They treat them like terms. So what is 4x plus 1x? 5x. What is 8 plus 2? 10 equals 180. Let's track my line there. Now what do I do to solve that for x? So this is us doing algebra. If we're solving an equation, we're doing algebra. Hate to break it to you. Now what? Divide by 5. And x equals what? 34. Now, that doesn't answer my question, does it? The question said to find the measure of angle BCE, which is this angle, and the measure of ECD, which is this angle. Okay? So let's just find the first one first, the measure of angle BCE. How can I do that now that I know what x is? Plug in x for x. I have 4x plus 8, right? So I can say 4 times 34 plus 8. Calculators are a friend sometimes. What is 4 times 34? 136 plus 8 more degrees is how many degrees? 144 degrees. So that's the measure of angle BCE. That's what that little m means in front of the angle for those of you who aren't here. The little m means the measure of it. Now I also got to find the measure of angle ECD. I can just subtract from 180, can't I? Right? Or I can plug in 34 plus 2, right? Right? That was actually kind of simple. 36 degrees. So the measure of angle ECD, and we need to label our work. We don't just say 36 degrees because there's 2 different angles they wanted us to find. So label them, please. Okay? Now we could check it by saying is 180 minus 144 36 degrees, right? Right? Or I could have checked this the other way. They both work out. Because either way, they got to add to be 180. So there's a way you can check yourself. Okay. Y'all don't have to write this word problem, but just write the work for me. Will that help you? Okay. Did we understand that last one? This is similar. This is similar, except they just didn't draw me the picture. Okay? Similar, except they didn't give me the picture. It says 2 roads intersect. What does that mean, intersect? They cross each other. And they form supplementary angles. Clue word, supplementary. What does it mean? 180 degrees together. Okay? It says angle XYW and angle WYZ. Blah, blah. Okay, they make those 2 angles. Find both of their measures if one of them is 2x plus 14 degrees and the other one is 4x minus 20 degrees. Clue word, supplementary. So this plus this is going to equal what? 180. That's all you got to do. You're working it just like the last problem, except this time they told you in words, not a picture. Does that make sense? So you're going to say 2x plus 14 plus 4x minus 20. Plus 4x minus 20 equals 180. So if it says supplementary, you add it to be 180. If it says complementary, you add it to be 90. Combine like terms again. What's 2x plus 4x? 6x. What is 14 minus 20? Negative 6 equals 180. Now what can we do? Yep. So 6x equals 186. And then we can do what? Divide by 6. And x equals what? 31. Does that answer my question, though? No, we want to know those two angle measures. So now how can we get the angle measures? 31 for your x's, right? So the measure of angle x, y, w is going to be 2 times 31 plus 14 degrees. 2 times 31 is 62. What is 62 plus 14? 76 degrees. Is that right? I agree. So I'm going to write that. Measure of angle x, y, w. Label your work. How can I get the measure of angle w, y, z now? Two ways. Can I just say 180 minus 76? Since I know they're supplementary. Did somebody tell me what 180 minus 76 is? 104? So measure of the angle WYZ is 104, and you can check that by how? You can add them, make sure they're not 180, or I can say 4 times 31 minus 20. 4 times 31, I believe, is 124. Minus 20 is 104. It worked both ways. So look for those two words. Complementary, add it to be 180. Supplementary, add it to be 90. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about are angle pairs. So please write down this definition of a linear pair. We've kind of already talked about it. I'm going to write down the assignments for you guys. So this is just one form of a angle pair relationship. We basically already talked about it. If two angles that touch each other form a straight line, they are called a linear pair, which means their angles add to be what? If it makes a line, it adds to be what? 180. So that's why it says supplementary. That means it adds to be 180. So here's an example. Angle 1 and angle 2. They're adjacent, which means they touch each other and they lie along a singular line. So they are called a linear pair. So anytime you hear me say linear pair or it forms a line, you need to think supplementary, which means 180 degrees. Correct? All right. The next relationship we're going to see are very important. We're going to see these for lots and lots and lots of chapters. And those are vertical angles. They're checking out. Do what? When y'all go back and watch the video, you can fast forward to where you needed to. See you tomorrow. You good? Okay, so vertical angles, if we have two lines that cross each other, then obviously the two that are beside each other are a linear pair because they make a line. So for example, 3 and 4 are a linear pair because they make a line. They're going to add to be 180. But the ones across from each other are called vertical angles. Okay, so vertical angles are the ones across from each other. Put that as a side note because it makes more sense. So for example, in this picture, angle 3 and angle 6 are vertical angles. And angle 4 and what's the other one? What's across from angle 4? Angle 5 are vertical angles. The vertical angles are the angles that are across from each other. The ones beside each other are a linear pair. The ones across from each other are vertical angles. Make sense? Okay. So here's what's going to happen now. They are going to give you a picture of some angles. And they're going to ask you to identify the angles that are linear pairs and the ones that are vertical angles. So that's an interesting picture, isn't it? They all go around a circle, which is 360 degrees. It might make more sense in your notes if you do. It don't have to be exact as mine, but just kind of similar. Just make it similar. You look, 2, 3, and 5 are all on the same line. 1 and 4 are on the other side of that line, and kind of draw off from there is what I kind of do. All right, let's do number 1 first. It says identify all linear pairs. Now, what does a linear pair mean? They make a what? A line. So which angles, give me a set of angles, and it could be more than 2 actually, that all together make a straight line. 1 and 4. Y'all see that? 1 and 4 makes a line. Yeah, you can look on bottom too. So angle 1 and angle 4. Ugh, my handwriting's terrible today, y'all. It's Monday. Do what? 2 and 3 and 5 actually. Right? All 3 of them. 2, angle 3, and angle 5. 1 and 3 by themselves don't make 180 degrees, but 1, 2, and 3 do. Right? Y'all see that? Angle 1, angle 2, and angle 3. Do any more sets of angles make a straight line? 4 and 5? Yeah, very good. I'm out of room. Anything else? I think y'all got them all. All right, the next one says all vertical angles. All right, let me get us started here. Vertical angles, remember, are across from each other where 2 lines intersect. Y'all agree that this line and this line are the only 2 lines? That this doesn't make a line? This does not make a line because it don't go on like that. Y'all see that? Oops, see, I wrote too much. Okay. So, like this does not make a vertical angle. Does that make sense? So, what's one that makes a vertical angle? 1 and 5. Good. And if you put 2 and 3 together, it would make it, this angle would make one with 4. Y'all see that? I'm not going to write that down because it's not really pretty. Right? Because they're split. They're not exactly vertical angles. So does that make sense? Okay. One last thing we're going to do. We're down to like the last 2 examples. Is that good with y'all? Last 2 examples. Which is good because it's not even 2:30 yet. Well, probably not. We're going to set it up. So let's just read this and help us set up an equation so that we can find some angle measures, okay? It says 2 angles form a linear pair. What does linear pair mean? Makes a line, which means it's how many degrees? 180 degrees. So 2 angles make 180 degrees. Get that in your head, okay? The measure of one angle is 5 times the measure of the other one. How many angles do we have? 2 of them. Let's say one of them is x, because we don't know how big it is. The other one is what? 5 times x. And I'm going to add those together, and it's going to equal what? 180 degrees. Yes, I will get 6x when I combine them. Yes. Do y'all see how I set that up? I don't know the measure of either one of them, so I have to use a variable, right? And it says one of them is 5 times the measure of the other. We know they make a linear pair, so that means they make 180 degrees. So if one of them is x, the other one is 5 times whatever x is. Are y'all good with that? Now we're going to do like Dale just told me to do, and we're going to combine those together. What is x plus 5x? 6x equals 180 degrees. And then I do what? Divide by 6, and x is what? So one of my angles is 30 degrees. The other one is going to be 5 times 30 degrees, which is how much? 150 degrees. Now, does that work out? Is 150 plus 30 equal to 180? Yes. We did it. We found them. The 2 angles are 30 degrees and 150 degrees. Does that make sense? No. You should finish before 3. All right, let's do one more like this. It's very similar. Very, very similar. It says 2 angles are supplementary. What does supplementary mean? What does supplementary mean? 180. Can I show y'all a visual? Y'all going to learn I'm quirky and I come up with weird ways to remember everything. If I draw an S, a big S like this, can you see that an S is made up out of 2 C's? I drew them like symmetrical. There we go. Y'all see that? So complementary is 90 degrees. And together they're 180 degrees. 2 complementaries make this supplementary. Does that make sense? If it don't, it's okay. Just memorize it. Rememberize that. Okay, so these are supplementary, which means 180 degrees. The measure of one is 3 times the measure of the other. So how do I set up this equation then? X plus 3x equals 180. Because here's an angle, here's an angle. One of them we don't know, but we know whatever it is, 3 times that gets added to make 180. And that is 4x. You're right. 4 this time. And x is what? 45 degrees. And the other one is going to be 3 times 45 degrees, which is how much? 135 degrees. If I add those 2, do I get 180? Yes. What if it said complementary instead of supplementary? You'd put a 90 right there and solve it. Does that make sense? Complementary 90, supplementary is 180. And that is the end of the lesson for the day. Have a good day.